that would redound to the benefit of the military-industrial complex. So this is very circular. And I think that what I'm saying is one has to be very careful if you're going to be involved with disclosure and contact and saying, this group is bad, this group is good, we're good and we're bad, and we're slipping right back into the Israelis versus the Palestinians, the Jews versus the Christians, the Muslims versus the whatever.
But this is not where we're going.
But if you say that there are bad aliens that are working with a secret government.
The language is actually service to others versus service to self, and that in itself is also a matter of degree.
But you
so
can't
it's not
that
really
judgment.
good.
See, here's the problem.
Well, none of us can. That's the whole point.
Well, that's my whole point. And I think before one starts going down the path of the sky is falling, and we start unleashing this Manichaean worldview of here are the ones that are service to others, and here's the ones that are selfish, I would say that there's some enlightened self-interest everywhere. And let's back this up just a little further. Let's say that these civilizations...
Especially by the invaders.
By the who?
If there's an invasion race, then enlightened self-interest is going to be the predominant model by which they're going to operate,
and you know, you're entitled to that.
I'm positing, all I'm doing here, look, until it actually happens in black and white.
Who has been invaded? And
there is evidence. In other words, you can get evidence on both sides of the question.
Well, but to characterize it as an invasion, what if there is an interstellar group that have different ones of them have different functions? For example, I'm going to take this a little further. There's one group that has a very specific function. You might call this the Noah's Ark function. That this planet is under tremendous environmental stress. We're losing thousands of species and plants and animals. I've spoken with people about the landing in Provence of this ET craft in a lavender field. And there were these little ETs out picking lavender. And it sounds hilarious. What were they doing?
Just like the movie.
Absolutely happened. And it left physical trace. Could there be a human genome project that's trying to protect the human genome and a genome project for Gaia, the Earth? Could there be? There could be all kinds of things going on that are beyond our ability to say that's happening by people who are selfish and invaders, and that's happening by people who are the good ones. And I think that sort of dichotomy and dualism that I read on your blog is the exact script that Majestic would want people to buy into to support interplanetary war. And I think that there is another...
I think the paranoia over interplanetary war per se, and that scenario, is laudable. Okay, in a certain way, we understand that you're coming from a heartfelt perspective when you talk about let's not get caught up in polarities, okay? But what we don't want to do is analyze this scene, this scenario, and the realities that are out there, and say we've come to definitive statement where we can say there are only good ETs. Now let me tell you why that's dangerous as well. Because what that does is leave people, humans, and humanity possibly in general, in a vulnerable position because they are then going around following ET like the Pied Piper down whatever road they're taking.
No, I have always said, and unfortunately you haven't read my books and things, but...
Actually I have.
Well, and I have made it very clear that there are two things that are equally dangerous. The deification of these visitors or the demonization of them. Each are equally dangerous. And I've said this since the early 90s.
And then we're in agreement. But what you said on stage was not that.
I didn't deify them and I didn't demonize them. My point is that we're living in a universe together. We're going to have to live together in that universe.
Absolutely.
The solutions are not going to be name-calling and we're better than you are and those are in service to self and those are the service to others and this whole thing. Because I think that we have to look at this from a much larger picture, and that is not only Earth, but the whole cosmos is going through a quantum moment. It is not just an Earth moment. It's a universal moment. And the hallmark of which is universal peace. and the hallmark of which is good. And so it is also
The
true
ideal.
that interstellar civilizations are not allowed to leave their biosphere until they have become in agreement for peace. Now, and
Okay, that's an assumption.
this has been proven. Because if these,
No way. Nothing has been proven on this planet
if these civilizations,
on that degree of sophistication.
well, if they
there's
were here,
no way.
if they were here and they were invading and they were hostile, they would not have waited for us to have the kind of weapons we have today. They would have absolutely shut this civilization down.
On the contrary, I mean, there's
in
actually
1945.
we have to actually get into a whole socio-political look at what it is to be an ET spacefaring culture.